Hey guys, this is James from TeaDB bringing you InBetweenIsode number 90. So today we are brewing something that is technically a heicha, but not actually a raw pu'erh or ripe pu'erh or a pu'erh actually. And so right before I was leaving Taiwan about a month ago in the middle of May, I met up with Emilio one last time, and so he sent me home with 6 or 7 different pu'erh samples of teas that he either used to source or some that he was currently selling on his website. So thank you, Emilio, for these samples. Here's one of them, and I'm bringing this one on just because it's sort of an interesting oddity. I had this, and it's quite different from what I'm used to as far as teas, and that's not to say it's better or worse or anything like that. It's just very different. So this tea is the 1998 Guangyungong bean. And so, as you guys may have been able to notice from the pictures, you can see the leaves are very dark. There's a lot of stems. The compression is also very distinctive. It's sort of compressed, kind of like an iron cake. It's fairly tight. The leaves are very, very dark. And so this is a tea, and there's a famous 1960s version of this that uses border leaves, or leaves not from Yunnan, which is why it's technically not pu'erh. And so I'm not exactly sure what the story of this tea is. I've seen some conflicting things, but it tastes quite different from a pu'erh. So I've already done the rinse and the initial infusion. So we're doing the second one. And some of it actually reminds me a bit of cooked pu'erh. So a very, very sweet aroma, almost like, and I'm not really one for strange analogies, unlike Denny, but this almost has like some insanely sweet, like starburst type flavors coming off of the nose, some fruits, almost artificial in that sense, as well as some more like fermenty flavors, like some chocolate. It still smells very clean, very sweet aroma coming off of it. There are a fair deal of stems in this guy. And this is my second time having this tea. So that is the second and third infusion. And you guys can sort of see that it's brewing up nice dark red color. And in my stone cup, it almost looks black. Still a little bit of red in there, but churning towards that black. The leaves still are very dark. And usually one way to tell raw versus cooked, and it's certainly not a foolproof method, is that raw leaves will tend to lighten up, whereas depending how cooked something is, it could still be very pitch black. That can vary also storage to storage. So the first time I had this tea, I actually compared it side by side with some shang that I was relatively familiar with. And the most notable thing that I immediately noticed is that this tea is just really, really soft. So it has some of that vanilla to it, vanilla creaminess. Very soft, very front focused right now. So sort of like on the front of the mouth. There's not like a ton of activity towards the back or the throat. It's very smooth. I would not call this for the genre of like late 90s, early 2000 teas that have seen some sort of humidity storage. I don't think this is particularly thick compared to them. That being said, it probably does have a medium viscosity compared to more normal teas. Lots of wood, maybe a little bit of cherry. Very sweet still. Go ahead and give this a fourth infusion. So really a lot of creamy notes coming off of that. Pretty constant aroma, pretty similar to the other steeps. Cheers, guys. Still quite hot. There's maybe a hint of astringency there, which you would not expect from an actual cooked tea. So I don't think this is actually like a properly cooked ripe pu'er. But it is really quite different and interesting. I wouldn't say it's bad, but Yunnan pu'er definitely has sort of like this body, at least good Yunnan pu'er, that is, and the strength to it that's not totally pleasant for this. I think this would fit more into the category of wanting to drink something dark, very mellow, very easy to drink. I think this would be a really nice work daily drinker if you like sort of like that darker, creamier flavor profile. It's very smooth, it's very easygoing. It's also very clean. Emilio warned me before he gave me the pu'ers that that they might be a little bit dank, but I've actually found them to all be generally pretty clean. So I guess that might say something about my own pu'er preferences, or maybe they've been aired out in Taiwan in some of Emilio's clay jars. But an observation nonetheless. So even softer, the body's thickened up a little bit. Has a really interesting fruit component to it that's comparing with sort of the that's sort of pairing with the vanilla creamy aspects to it. Maybe some long on fruits as well. It's not an insanely complicated tea. And again, I found that the aftertaste or the activity of the tea, especially after I've been drinking it, is really, really front focused. A little bit on my cheeks. There's not a ton back here, so something to watch out for as the session goes on. As it's cooling down a little bit, getting more of those fruit tones off of the aroma. You know, wait for this to cool as well. Cheers, guys. So it's a little bit less sweet than previous infusions. Still sort of like a wood long on fruit profile to it. Not a totally unfamiliar profile to older raw or ripe pu'er, but also not totally the same too. I'd say most distinctly it's probably softer and smoother, but not quite as thick, is how I would compare it to raw pu'ers that I usually have from around this time period. There's definitely not much of a bitter bite to it. There's maybe a slight astringency in this previous infusion and this one that you can pick up on. Cool, so I think that just about wraps up this InBetweenIsode. So thank you to Emilio. For those of you that are unfamiliar, I had Emilio on as a guest. He is someone that kindly opened up his home and allowed me to look at some of his teaware that he makes in Taiwan. So go check his stuff out at thejadeleaf.com. I do not believe this tea in particular is still available, but if you are interested in border teas like this, Emilio, I think, might be able to hunt it down or something, or maybe he still has some of this. So if you're ordering some of his wares, you could ask for a sample of this or something. Quite an interesting tea. I don't know what it sold for. I don't know what it would sell for. I would guess that a reason to get this tea would be that it might be a little bit cheaper, especially compared to some of the more famous productions, but I would hope that the price would be quite affordable for something around this time period. I do enjoy this tea. It's definitely a nice change of pace. It's also not a tea to go super crazy or get excited about, but for those of you that do like older teas, it's probably worth checking out. Anyways, thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you guys next time. Cheers.